Hello students. Today let's start the discuss the important topics regarding to the chapter nuclei. We have already discussed the chapter atoms and the semiconductor devices and all the important topics we have discussed there. So I think you have seen already that video. So today let's start to discuss the important topics. Only here we are going to discuss, and also we have discussed already the conceptual and numerical problems related to this chapter. So here one by one the topics that are important we will discuss and try to understand this and try to see this whatever you have just prepared for your examination. So first of all, you know that the discovery of nucleus that is made by the Rutherford when he was performing alpha scattering experiment with his associates, and he just observed that the most of the alpha particles are passed or you can say that that is crosses the atom that he has used for the alpha scattering experiment, and that is you know that gold foil he has used there. And also he just gave some results, means he gave some new theory and ideas based on the result of alpha scattering experiment. So first was that he told us that the atom consists of tiny space. We have already discussed that in the chapter atoms also. Again, just only to remind you, I am just discussing it. So you have seen that actually alpha particles that are deflected by only some small space of the atom. It means that he just told us that the most of the mass of the atom is concentrated in the tiny space, and that tiny space is called nucleus. So from that point the discovery of nucleus, or you can say that the new physics, nuclear physics, that is started. So after the discovery of nucleus, the basic problem was that if we have a tiny space in the atom and most of the mass is concentrated in that particular space, and also many scientists they have worked for the proposing the atomic models, and in their atomic models they have told us that atom consists of a tiny space that is called nucleus, and electrons are revolving around it, and as a whole if you see the atom that are electrically neutral. So this is the basic properties of atom. It is electrically neutral, and also electrons are revolving around it. We have already discussed the spectroscopic term, and electrons how they will behave, how like and what is the property of electron that is revolving around the nucleus, mean what is the radius of their circular orbits, what is velocity, what is energy, and frequency, time period. We have discussed all that things in the chapter atom in brief, and here we are just concerning and we are going to concentrate on the properties of nucleus only. So first of all, before starting the chapter nucleus, the first thing that came into our mind, that is to which types of particles the nucleus is composed of. So first factor that was the challenging factor, that was the composition of nucleus. And as you know that atom as a whole that is neutral. We have just told us already with the help of atomic model, then electrons are revolving around the nucleus. But in the nucleus what types of particles are there? So obviously if atom is as a whole that is neutral, then it means that there are some positive particles that are also in the atom, and Rutherford even just discovered that that is called proton. So before discovery of actually neutron, it was thought that atom is consist of protons and electrons only. And for the composition of nucleus, the first theory that first hypothesis that is proposed, that is the electron proton hypothesis. So for the composition of nucleus, if firstly in 1930 this was given hypothesis, and according to this hypothesis it was said that there are Z protons in the nucleus and A minus Z electrons in the nucleus. So simple, the composition of nucleus according to electron proton hypothesis was that nucleus consists of z number of protons and a minus z number of electrons, where a is atomic mass and z is atomic number. And as a whole atom is neutral, then they have just supposed that the rest of z electrons that are revolving around the nucleus, means if you see as a whole, then atom will be totally neutral. But here the assumption of electron proton hypothesis is that some of the electrons that are inside the nucleus and some of the electrons that are revolving round the nucleus, and also protons are situated in the nucleus. So I think the concept of and composition of nuclei at first and the hypothesis that was given, that is clear to you. Questions are can be asked on the basis of hypothesis, and which of the hypothesis was given for the nuclear composition, and also what are the consequences of your what is the properties that is told by the electron proton hypothesis and by the electron proton neutron hypothesis. Later we will discuss it, but still the first hypothesis that was proposed, that is electron proton hypothesis, and the hypothesis whatever it told us, that is clear to you. Now what is the problem actually to accept this hypothesis? Actually later the actually composition of nucleus that is defined by the alpha beta gamma decay. So you know that atoms are radiating, or nuclei that are radiating alpha beta and gamma particles to attain the stability, to make them stable nuclei. So for to gain the stability, first of all they emit alpha particle, they emit beta particle and gamma particles. So you know that if there will be an emission of alpha particle, then atomic number that is decreased by 2 and atomic mass that is decreased by 4. In case of beta particles it is increased by 1. So you know that actually lighter nuclei that are also unstable. We have discussed all these things in the chapter in brief, but still here only some of the things, some of the concepts that we will take again to remind you, to boost you again for the according to that conceptual things. So in case of beta, lighter nuclei, you know that are also unstable, and higher nuclei that are stable, and that's why higher nuclei try to bring them into the lighter nuclei, and lighter nuclei try to bring them into heavier nuclei. So for that they emit different types of particle, means they always follow the different types of things. Sometimes they follow nuclear fusions, the number of methods through them they can attain stability. So I think the concept that is clear to you. So alpha beta gamma decay, and they are obtained from the nucleus. So they are the basic key to understand the nuclear property, understand the nuclear composition. So in starting as the beta particles that are positively particles, and a beta particle that are negatively charged particle, alpha particles that were positively charged particles. So according to them we have just tried to understand the composition of nucleus. So for the composition of nucleus, the electron proton hypothesis that we have discussed, that is I think clear. So here what was the problem in the electron proton hypothesis? This question is very important. Why electron proton hypothesis has been failed? You have to answer it, and you have to know also what is the reason behind it, why this theory, this hypothesis has failed. So first reason is that actually it has been shown that to be in the nucleus, a particle must have the energy from the in the range 20 mega electron volt to 200 mega electron volt. Means a particle which has less the energy than this, that cannot exist in the nucleus. And if when the energy of electron that is calculated, that comes out to be nearly 2 to 3 to 4 mega electron volt only. So with this energy, electron cannot exist in the nucleus. First the reason is that electron has not sufficient energy to exist in the nucleus. So the concept of electron proton hypothesis, that was totally failed due to this reason. The second reason is that the nuclear spin, if you see that case, then the nuclear spin and other factors that we have discussed, like that also not described with the help of the uh, electron hypothesis. So the second factor that due to that it is declined, that is the concept of nuclear spin. Third concept is that the magnetic moment that is seen, the magnetic moment of the nuclei, that is very less in comparison to the magnetic moment of electrons. So if the electrons are greater magnetic moment, then this cannot exist in that which needed less magnetic moment for the particles to be exist in the nucleus. And last thing is that it was very complicated to study the concept of the electrons that are revolving around the nucleus also, and they are existed inside the nucleus, and they are showing different types of properties. So and if electrons are identical, and from Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics we have seen already that the particles that we are using and other quantum concept, we are they seen that particles are just they are identical. So if all the electrons are identical, all the protons are identical, then how can we distinguish some of the electrons inside the nucleus for different property and some of the electrons outside the nucleus for different properties? Means these are two things that are just like seen contradictory to each other. So that's why due to this all reasons the electron proton hypothesis is totally failed. Clear? So this is the reason behind the failed or improper for the electron proton hypothesis. Later, when Chadwick discovered the neutron in 1932, after the discovery of neutron, a new hypothesis that was given, that is the concept of neutron proton hypothesis. So actually Chadwick discovered neutron from an experiment. The experiment was that when bombarded alpha particles on the beryllium atom, and he has seen that there are the emission of neutral particles from there, and that neutral particles first called proton, but already protons are positively charged particles, then they cannot be proton, as actually the mass of that neutral particle when it is estimated, then that was roughly that was equal to the mass of proton. So first scientist was confused that whether it is proton or not, but later Chadwick solved this problem. He told us that these particles are not protons. These are the particles whose masses is nearly roughly equal to the mass of protons, but they are not protons. They are not positive charged particles. They are neutral particles. They are different particles, and he called that particle neutron. So after solving this problem, when he got Nobel Prize for that discovery in 1935, and when he solved this thing, then it was very easy to us to understand the composition of nuclei also. So after the discovery of it, Heisenberg proposed the neutron hypothesis, and with the help of proton neutron hypothesis he have just shown us that all the discrepancies that was arising in case of electron proton hypothesis, that was completely solved, as the energy of neutron that is lying under the range of the nucleus, and other properties like nuclear spin, magnetic moment, that were all comparable to the nuclear property. So here with the help of that reason, it was totally accepted hypothesis, and the hypothesis for the neutron proton, that was in the nucleus there are z number of protons and a minus z number of neutrons, and simple this hypothesis was corrected by the neutrons, and now this hypothesis has been accepted totally. So first of all, we had two types of hypothesis to explain the composition of nucleus. I think that two hypothesis is now clear. The question important, actually questions based on that is very important. Always it is asked to you why the electron proton hypothesis that is failed, and why neutron proton hypothesis that is successful. So you have to know the reason behind it also. And when the composition of nucleus that is totally solved, and we know now the composition of nucleus, and we know nuclei are made up of protons and neutrons, then after that we started to solve other problems. We even separate models that are also proposed for the nuclei, and there are number of models that is proposed, like liquid drop model, cell model, collective model, number of models actually also. And the reason behind that the same as we had atomic model, some of the models was explaining some of the property and other models was explaining other properties. And in the case of nuclei, some of the properties was explained by liquid drop model and some of the properties was explained by cell model. Then after that a collective model that put them together, that is obtained from there. So we use both of the model to understand the nuclear property in a very well manner. So if I think these factor that is clear, then after that let's start the next important concept, that is the nuclear properties. So in the nuclear property, the first thing is nuclear size. Nuclear size. So nuclear size means, first of all, the theory that was given for the nuclear size is that nucleus is uh, is of the spherical shape actually, and just like the atom is spherical and circular, and that's in the same manner nucleus is spherical in shape. Then obviously if it is spherical in shape, then it must have some radius, some size, and that radius is discovered that the radius of the nucleus that is directly proportional to its mass number, in the manner that is a power 1 by 3. So that the radius of the nucleus that is directly proportional to the a power 1 by 3. So it is connected to the atomic mass number, means greater will be the atomic mass, greater will be the radius of the nucleus also. And if you solve it, means remove the just proportionality constant, then a factor that is obtained, that is r equal to r0 a power 1 by 3, and the range of r0 that is nearly 1.5 me, and so on 1.2 Fermi to 1.5 Fermi. So with the help of this we can compare even the size of two nuclei, and the numerical problems can be asked on this formula, and also some of the questions on the nuclear size can be asked to you with the help of it. Like with the help of this we can calculate what will be the surface area of the it, and you know that surface area that is given by 4 pi r square. So if you see the concept of surface area, then with the help of this surface area that will be obtained 4 pi, in place of 4 just write it 1 by 3 and power this. So we will obtain finally 4 pi r0 a power 2 by r0 square, sorry, a power 2 by 3. So these all factors are constant, 4 pi r0 square are constant. So surface area that will be directly proportional to a power 2 by 3. So this question can be also asked to you, and numerical problems can be asked based on these nuclear properties. So the two things that we have just solved, that is the nuclear size and concept of surface area. Then the third factor that we have to solve in the case of nuclear size, that is the volume of the nucleus. Obviously its shape is spherical, then we can calculate its volume. So what will be the volume of the nucleus? You know that the volume of a sphere that is 4 by 3 pi r cube, and with the help of again the value of r we can solve it, and we can see that whether the volume is dependent on the mass number or not. Actually if you will see the nuclear property, most of the nuclear properties are dependent on two factors. First is its atomic number, second is its atomic mass. As we are representing most of the mass of the atom by the nucleus, so here the atomic mass plays an important role while describing and while understanding the concept of nucleus here. So I think that factor is clear, and let's solve it. So here after solving we will obtain r0 a power 1 by 3 whole cube, and if you will solve again it, then we will obtain r0 cube, and here A. Clear? And again all these factors that are constant. So B will directly proportional to A. So the volume of the nucleus that is directly proportional to the atomic mass, means greater will be the atomic mass, greater will be its volume. Means there is a linear relationship between atomic mass and volume of the nucleus. Clear? So I think all these three factors, what is the surface area, how it will change with atomic mass, and second factor what is its volume and how it will change, that is clear to you. So if this factor is clear, then let's see what is the density of the nuclei. So the third, or you can say fourth factor, that is density of nuclei. So as we know that density of nuclei, that is defined by mass per unit volume, and here the mass that is represented by, that is capital A, mass number. And already we know a formula for this V, and you know that that is directly proportional to A. So if you see or you can solve it, then it will be obtained 4 by 3 pi r0 cube into A. Clear? And this will be down, and finally we will get the density that is equal to 3 by 4 into 1 upon pi r0 cube. And whole these all things are constant, then we can say that the density of the nuclei, that is constant. Means if you solve the density of the nuclei for any of the atom, then it will always be constant. It means that whenever there, obviously actually if you can see the relationship between V and A, right? If we are just, suppose that here volume we have taken, here atomic mass we have taken, and we are just solving it, and we will see obviously there is linear relationship, and this linear relationship will be represented by such types of graph. And if you just take the slope of this, then this slope will represent the density, and you can see that that density is constant always for any slope that we are taking. It means whenever there will be increase in mass, according to that there will be equal increment in the volume, and overall that quantity, the ratio of it, that will be always constant. So the factor that is always constant for all of the nuclei, that is its density. So density of nuclei for any atom, that will not change, whatever its mass, whatever its volume. So I think the properties of nucleus, there is no confusion while we are discussing it, yes. And you have already studied that, so you have to see them one by one. You have tried to just understand it one by one. So the third factor that here we have to discuss, that is, you know that already actually the composition of nucleus. So nucleus is composed of, now we know with the help of neutron proton hypothesis, it is composed of neutron and proton. So we can also say what is the charge of the nuclei. So the charge of the nuclei, as we know that neutrons are neutral particles, they are chargeless. So only the charge that will counted for the nuclei, that is due to protons. So here Z number of protons in the nucleus we have, and we know that already for one proton there is plus E charge, and the value of E, that is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. So this is the charge that is on one proton, and there are total number of protons in the nuclei, that is Z. So total charge on the nucleus, that is equal to plus Zt. Clear? Means overall if you see the nucleus that are positively charged. The next factor, that is the mass of the nuclei. So the mass of the nuclei, obviously you know that the constituent particles for the nuclei, that are neutrons and protons. Then obviously if you simply add the mass of neutrons and mass of protons, then that will give us the mass of nucleus. So the mass of nucleus that is obtained, obviously suppose here Z number of Z number of protons we have, and if mass of one proton, that is equal to mp, and there are A minus Z number of neutrons, and mass of neutron is mn. So if mass of one neutron, that is mn, and we know that total one n a minus z neutrons are in the nuclei, then what will be the total mass of neutrons? That will be equal to it. And in the similar way, if mp is mass of one proton and overall total we have z number of protons in the nuclei, then total mass of the proton will be this, and if you sum all this, then this will give us mass of nucleus. Clear? So I think there is no confusion at all in these factors. So we have just calculated the mass of nucleus. Now after that, the next property, these are the summarized way for the properties of nuclei, and that can be also asked to you in the examinations. Then write down the properties of nucleus, or particular with name it can be asked to you. You have to just know what are the properties of nucleus. Next property, we know that the next is the isotopes, concept of isotopes, isobars and isotones. So actually isotopes are those atoms in which number of atomic number for them that is same. Means if for any atom atomic number is same but atomic mass is different, then that is known as isotopes. In case of hydrogen, if we see that there are three isotopes of hydrogen, and here we are seeing that atomic number for all these three are constant, means that they are same, and atomic mass that are different. So these types of atoms that are known as isotopes. Isobars are called those for that atomic mass is same and atomic number is different. In the similar way, isotones are those for which number of neutrons are same and other things are different. Clear? So with the help of the different these constant concepts, actually the it helped us to understand the concept of periodic table, and also it helped to scientists to understand the to expand the periodic table. Like we had the periodic table for the leaf, and after that even Moseley has just expanded it. So even he has just corrected the law for that. Means the most fundamental thing for the nuclei or for the atom, that was atomic mass according to Mendeleev, but later Moseley was proposed theory that the most fundamental thing that is for the atom, that is the atomic number. Means atomic number decided everything, and after that he just categorized the periodic table based on the atomic number, and now we have even more accurate periodic table. But even there are also some discrepancies, but most of the discrepancies of the that is solved here. And even here just put some spots for the isotopes, as isotopes are they have so many things that is similar, and so many properties that are different, and it was very difficult while explaining that with the help of Mendeleev model, as there the atomic, it was based on the atomic mass, not on the atomic number. So there was some problems while explaining, and you already have studied that things in the inorganic chemistry, so I don't have to explain that here. Only we are just talking about the nuclear properties, composition of nucleus. So I think guys that is different to you. So the next factor that we have to study in case of nuclear properties, and that is very important for your examination, that is the concept of binding energy. So concept of binding energy. So what is, first of all, what is binding energy? So in the nucleus neutrons and protons are bind together, and also we know that nucleus is composed of neutrons and protons. So suppose that we just want to remove one nucleon, actually neutron and proton, that are collectively known as nucleons. Okay, if you see the one number of neutron and one number of protons, this is known as nucleon. Clear? I think there is no confusion. So suppose if we want to remove one nucleon from the nucleus, then obviously they are bounded by the nucleus by some strong force. Later we will discuss nuclear force also. So they are just bounded by the strong force, and obviously that we have to overcome that strong force before making the removal of any nucleon from it. So the energy required to provide a nucleon so that it can escape from the nucleus, that is known as its binding energy. Clear? Means if we want to remove one nucleon from the nucleus, then we have to add some energy, and the amount of energy that is needed to provide it to uh, escape from the nucleus, escape from the or overcome the strong nuclear force, that is known as its binding energy. So later in next class we will discuss the concept of binding energy, as it is a very broad concept, and even we will discuss the binding energy per nucleon curve and stability factor with the help of that curve. We will discuss that all in next class. So today guys, let's end the class here, and I think all the concepts and fundamental things for the nuclei and the properties of nucleus that we have discussed here, and even hypothesis that we have discussed, that is all clear to you. There is no confusion at all to understand that. So let's end it here. Thank you.